Hi, everyone. Well, now I'm going to begin this live transmission. As you know, I will be talking about the cube, and just I okay, there it is. Okay, so um, I'm going to talk about the cube code, and we know that the cube is one of the five Platonic solids. And when we talk about the cube, more than this geometrical form, yet also for the encrypted purpose to it, then we will open a whole universe of technology, of genetics, of matrices, of time, because all of this is embedded in the cube. And I will show it to you because as you know, I will be showing to you some slides where we will be going through all this information that I have been tuning into and by my remembrance, and that within every memory I have gone into this research and actually have found out very interesting correlations to in between my remembrance, the cube, and all these benefits that have served for specific egregores, for specific realities, and also, of course, to ancient civilizations, because that's where everything began. And even though nowadays also some cultures, a lot of them, use this cube as an artifact, as energetic catalyzer, or actually to store energy and then nourish the whole interface of other oscillators and capacitors that throughout their specific spin are creating free energy from the one taken from the cube. So I will be talking about all of this and more. This is topic which I connected with throughout my stay in Egypt. Because as you know, or if you don't, well, then I will share it with you. Throughout all these ancient depictions, they show precisely one of the most important or recurrent images or hieroglyphs that they show is the cube. And they show it as a throne. And yeah, it was a throne. The thing is that when we understand this reality as a from its holofractographic nature, then we can actually find a point in communion in why they used a cube as a throne and not a chair as nowadays. And it was not because they didn't have the creativity or the ergonomic perception. Come on, they built pyramids. So it has a more profound meaning because when you sit in the throne, you're sitting in your inner cube, your mind, because actually even the mind is unlimited. When it comes to this simulation reality, and the mold that they used to create this matrix was precisely a cube. Why? I was sharing a little bit about this yesterday and talking about the correlation in between, for instance, the Schumann resonance of the Earth, which is 7.8, the base one, because we have another two ones, which is 14.1 and 20.3. And these all are numerical values that are also embedded in, for instance, the Mayan cosmology, in which they have based the algorithms that they have thrown into a time system, some of the algorithms, because there are many, yet the mainly, and also they have found all these three numerical values in the body, because then again, when you perceive this reality from the holofractographic field, you're capable to perceive it as fractals, that everything is continuously replicating at different scales. So if I find the 20 as correlation to the Hunab, which is the sun, the Hunabku, which is the sun, and actually it's the square or the cube, the sphere or the circle, and the pyramid all together. So, well, actually it's the 21, but when we talk about the 20, we're talking about a solar code. And the 20 is also embedded in our 20 rays of light that comes through our fingers, 5 in each hand and 5 in each foot. So, and why would all this information, why could they actually relate the sun to the fingers? Yes, it is poetic. And yes, it is how holofractographic field is entangled at different scales. Because from our hands, we're capable to emanate light. Actually, here in the center of our palm, we have an eye. Probably you have seen this depiction of or drawing in Hermetic texts about an eye here. And why? Because from here, we can say that it is a connection to an inner black hole that then creates life through a somehow complex procedure in which from the singularity then specific forces converge into one and then generate plasma and then propagating it into matter, like when we're capable to materialize, like pyrokinesis, like fire or wind, like emanate wind through our hands, because actually we're creating life, and life is generated in the black hole, and the eye represents the black hole, because in our eye, when you like make a dissection on an eye, then you will see that actually the iris is a black hole. So, I mean the pupil, I'm sorry. The pupil is an iris. I'm sorry. The pupil is a black hole. So I was thinking about the universe that can be seen through our iris. So I stayed in that timeline of the iris. So anyway, and now we will be talking about Osiris, which is very connected to the word iris as the operative system of the iris. Because if I could go on, and I will be sharing more videos decoding the method for sure, not in this one. So anyway, um, yeah, as I was saying, I'm going to start showing some slides so that you can know, like, perceive more what I'm talking about. Because, for instance, this throne, as we see it, this cube, it has a smaller one, and I will be showing that in some slides. So maybe you want to keep it present. Just before starting the show, I want to say that um, in this reality, this simulated matrix, you will see very good images as how from a sphere, from the holographic field, it all converts into a cube. And in order to comprehend and understand how this holofractographic field, it's very important for you to open up your heart and connect with that hypersensorial capabilities that is within each one of us to actually be able to interconnect all the dots and tune into the information within the spaces in between those dots, which are actually putting it all together. So, well, having said this, I will start sharing the screen. And okay. Okay, it's here. I'll just change a little bit. Okay, it's here. Now, okay, well, here we go. So, just going to go to the top. Okay, well, here we have a crop circle that appeared last year, and that when I started to translate some codes related to the Mayans cube, which when I say cube, those are, as I was saying, there are many layers to interpretate the cube, like from artifacts to like as arcs, not be saying that they are the same. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is that artifacts such as arcs, well, there are also cubes, as we can see nowadays in the Kaaba, in Egypt, and in every not in Egypt, the Kaaba in Saudi Arabia, and that earlier was located in Jordan, in Petra. And then they translated it to what we know today as the Mecca. So the Kaaba means cube, and at least in what we know Middle East, and also if we go deeper into the Kemetic knowledge, we can see very high correlation in the word Kaaba to cube, because that's where everything started, actually. And then, if, for instance, if we see the word Kaaba for the Mayan, it means my name is. So we can actually relate the phrase my name is to a very to personality, quite related to personality. When you want to transmit your personality, then it's quite embedded in the name, in your name. So then personality only exists in this reality, in this simulation reality. As we go deeper into other forms into other dimensions, then we can actually tune into ways of presenting oneself, not precisely through the personality. Those egoic things does not exist in higher forms of dimensions, in more evolved dimensions, and through higher forms of consciousness. So then, in Kabbalah, being in Mayan, my name is one of the things that we appreciate the most before we actually awake, and even after the awakening, to say it somehow, we are still very connected to our personality, is that unique form of expression that is capable to transmit who we are in this reality, what role we are playing in this reality. So then, as I was saying, this this code. I translated it before doing a very important trip in Mexico to unfold this this ancient artifact, a cube, which is a matrix, which is full of information that actually enables the knowledge for us to know how to master this matrix. And by master this matrix, I want to be very precise and clear that how to surf it and actually being able to go beyond it. Because we cannot go beyond something if we don't master it. So then now I'm going to start this here. And okay, here we have what it's known as a false door. And this false door is located in, well, we can see it in many tombs in Egypt. And also, for instance, if we go to Abydos, which is known as the Osiris Temple, we will see that there are 7 chambers, with each one with one of these false doors, which is mainly one door here on the left and one door on the right. So this represents, for instance, when you ask a magician, what do they choose? Red or blue? It's most likely that the magician will tell you purple, which is the result of both of them. Why? Because an alchemist, a magician, always finds a new way from a new possibility from all the ones that are given to him or to her. And this is one of the codes that this represents. The T is showing that the door is neither the one on the left, neither the one on the right. It's the one that is created from both. And this is actually the center part of the upper part of our heart, which is the high heart, which is the thymus gland. We can see the Vitruvius man creating a T form, the same as here in the false door. And then we have his upper arms, his arms a little bit up, and then also his legs opened. And if we see this as a bidimensional scale, or bidimensional form of perception, we could infer that he's just agitating his hands, like lying, which is also a possibility. Nevertheless, when we look at it from a 3-dimensional form of perception to reach a 4th-dimensional form of perception, then we see that he's creating this, which is a cube at a 3D, which is all the way to its front and back side, and then to the left and to the right. And we can even see this shape, this geometrical construction in the Orthodox churches, Catholic churches. They are all the way on the top of the antennas that they use. And whereas in the mosques there are eggs and also the moon, and then different phases of the moon. So now, and we have the ant here because we can actually in the center we can see actually how it is also the same shape. And when we put all of this information together, we can see that one thing represents the other and the other one represents another one, and then we put everything together. And when we activate the fundamental part of it, then we're activating the wholeness of it. Here you can see, and this is what I was talking about, the fact that it is showing this position and then generating 2 circles, intersecting and generating an X, that X that I told you about beginning of this video. So now we can see that also the brain is can be, we can generate an dissection in the brain at 6 layers, which is 1, 2, and 3 being the horizontal one. We have a coronal and sagittal cut, and this is a cube actually. These are the six this is a cube actually, and I will show to you now because, for instance, if we visualize this layer just in the center where I was saying yesterday in the introduction video, it is pointing out to the belly button where the umbilical cord once was. And what brought our soul all the way from higher forms of from higher dimensions all the way to this one. Okay, now this is a very simplistic picture, yet a very deep one, because we can see half of a sphere, and when light is projected to it, it generates a hologram. So now you can see how actually this reality is a hologram. Even though it has, like the squares, it is quite clear. If it hadn't, it is because it's allowing the light to transfer through all these gaps. And that's what the hologram is doing. It's receiving the photonic emission and then projecting it through all those intersections, these cubic intersections, and then projecting it into a body that translates into matter precisely through the ralentization or the densification, the density energy that comes from the plasma in all the magnificent orchestra generated by our mitochondria. Just an example. So now we have here what is a caption of the particle of light and in subtle motion. And we can see that it's a chacana, or also known as the Inca cross or the Atlantean cross. And it is also embedded in the way that this Vitruvius man is showing its body. Here would be his arms and his legs, actually, a little bit wider. It's showing that resonance. And again, the center is the belly button. So here I show how this, for instance, what through technology we create as a hologram, which is through the main colors, which is I'm not talking about the full spectrum, but like the colors used to create an interferential wave, which are green, blue, and red. So when we project this into an hologram, it creates a shape, a pattern. Well, more than a pattern, because this would be the pattern actually. Then it creates a form, a shape. And this then is like you blow it and then it takes it forms a density, a three-dimensional density. And that's actually what happens with plasma. As it generates more density energy, it starts to become a mass, matter, what we know as matter. So, well, now here we can see this pattern of the chakana. And this is an experiment I did with a black dot. I started to use my cell phone to play with the tidal wave of colors, and until I found the core of the pattern to this dot, which is precisely the chakana. So this is huge. For instance, if we say that this chakana represents a black dot, just not condensed, yet expanded through the pattern that is generating through the photonic fluctuation in between if in between each particle, then we will see precisely the chakana. And we can see that this is it was used in ancient civilizations, because imagine that in a hologram, um, when we are attaining a higher form of perception of the hologram, then we are rising all to the holographic field. And then we can see how the fact that the matter has those shapes, those symbols, if we say it, fundamental uh, forms of fundamental forms of quantum physics, then there are like antennas enhancing what this represents, which is the expansion of the photonic from the black body, which is this black spot, the expansion of the spectrum of light of this black dot. And these are like the center would be like little black holes that are actually interacting with the whole field, the whole structure. And then no wonder throughout all these complex structures and dynamics, quantum physics dynamics, they could actually generate 0 point energy and attained through, they could generate or actually tune into the ether within the space as 0 point energy, and then access to free energy, which is what these pyramids were. They were oscillators, but not oscillating as they have shown us. Oscillators as spinning upper and lower, and then creating all these massive amounts of energy. Because just imagine if in 1 meter of the performance that our mitochondrial bodies are generating at every minute in our body, it's equivalent to 30 million volts of energy, which is equivalent to a lightning. Right? So imagine that's within. Imagine they were also replicating, like, what was first, the egg or the chicken? Who were they replicating our biology, or our biology was replicated based on those fundaments? And it's the same actually, because from the holofractographic field, everything, even though there are hierarchies, all comes to evolution. And throughout all this complex structures, is that we are mirroring into them. So, yeah, they knew before the human design. However, as a matter of fact, as I was saying, there is a hierarchy, and there are other fundamental forces that created the ones that generated the manipulation in the human. And those are precisely what generates this holofractographic reality, this geometrical field of creation in which every form expands from the same pattern and then generating other patterns through the fusion of the fundamental ones. And these are fundamental ones because we're talking about the particle of light and we're talking about the black hole. So, and we can also see here, this is, they related, this was an artifact found made by the Olmecs, found in Veracruz. And then they took it to United States, and then the government took it back again here, and it represents the enter to the Xibalba, or the monster of the underground, which is actually the black hole. Okay, so now going to the cube. we can see here that um, there is these 37 units that are like just would represent precisely this part of the throne. And these 37 units actually are, let's say, the pulp from the cube, from which we get the chakana again as an octagon, as an hexagon, as an hexagram. So every, like the tetrahedron star, the octahedron, and so forth, they are embedded in numbers, which is the 37. It's not I'm not saying that the numbers are more important than the geometries, because actually the geometries exist first. The thing is that we get to tune into the the intermittent value or intermittence value of the geometries through numbers. Well, actually through frequency, vibration, and the energy generated from this. However, when we translate then the frequency and so forth, then we get these numerical values. So why would they possibly be sitting in this cube? Why it's so important? Because it's mastering the simulation reality, knowing how this works, how this functions through timelines, through all this light, the spectrum of light, how plasma is condensed and compressed through these forms of matrices that when they are static, such as the cube, then they are compressed. Nevertheless, when they start to, it's like the particle of light. That's the relation to the crucifix, because Jesus, as how they show him, was death. So then the particle of light is death. It's static. But we know that there is nothing really static in this universe. Everything is in motion at different scales. So the more that it speeds up, then every geometrical figure generates a sphere. So that's why also here the dot and the black hole represents the beginning of everything, because everything begins through the sphere, which again is every geometrical form in motion, spinning at a high range, which is actually related to the higher forms of frequencies. So, and how plasma is created at Schwarzschild scale and so forth, related to the stars. So then, um, then here we have, okay, so then here we have them. I'm showing here how the cube unfolds to generate precisely the T or the cross as how it is related to the crucifixion. And here we have below um, the gematria of the Hebrew alphabet and how it is precisely ordered in 7, which they when they took in the texts, in the ancient texts of creation, such as the Sefer Yetzirah for the Hebrew. They talk about the 7, like the 3 mothers, then the 7 doubles, and then the 12 singles, and then the 22, which it's talking about the alphabet. But when we talk about the 7, then we are actually seeing how all these numerical values embedded in every letter, they are compressed. And well, more than compressed, leading to something in a specific. I'm sorry for the sound. I'm going to put mute a little bit because there is some sound going on. So I'm sorry. Okay, now. Okay, so now we have these, we have earth, the and heavens, the God created. beginning, the in Earth, which is, the beginning is the end. The end is the beginning, you know. And here we have seven, which comes again for the seven, which is the six faces of the cube, and the center, the seven. So within all this, the result of all this numerical value is a 37. Okay, so now we know that the 37 is very important, and 37 plus 27 is 64, which is related to the 64 nucleotides. I'm sorry, the 64 codons that are generated through thrine groups of our nucleotides that actually generate our genes. So I would be talking more about other codes, otherwise this video will be too long. But I just want to say, for instance, this is also something very important, because when we talk about going like beyond time, traveling through the continuum of space-time and then reach a point that is faster than light, well, actually to travel through the continuum of space-time, then generating that FTL, which is traveling faster than light, and then going beyond this reality, this incubation. Well, we're capable to do that all throughout our body when we ignite our 9 Tauruses related to our plasma spherical body, which is what I'm showing in the online courses and in the conferences that I am currently giving. And now, for instance, here we have, as I was saying, if you have the traveling faster than light, and I was showing to you the brain, and there is also another code, which is the cube of Nomon, which actually it's also related to this and to a solar clock in the shape of a cube, of course. And how this cube of Nomon works, it works in 3 constants, which are projected onto 6 directions, and the center, which is the 7th, okay, which is the same with the brain that I was showing to you, just different angles of the plane. And when we connect this to traveling faster than light, it's the same diagram, if we just take part of the Cartesian plane. We have 3 constants that project all the way into 6 edges. Sorry. And then the center is the 7th. So traveling faster than light is something that is quite open to discussion, because the way how was diagnosed the speed of light was through projecting light into a prism, and then the time it took to reflect into the glass, then that was considered the speed light. That's why when we talk about traveling faster than light and generating paradoxes, it doesn't add up really when we're talking, for instance, from a topological approach, which is mainly that we're capable to coexist in one same reality, like 2 of myself in one same reality. And we do that all the time. We do it through hypnosis, we do it through regressions, because for the unconscious mind, there is no difference. Yeah, I'm just looking at myself doubled, replicated in the same point. And that's why the paradoxes and related to traveling faster than light are kind of subject to discussion, because mainly the speed of light is also quite not accurately defined yet. So here we can see that we see this like octahedral shape. And in order actually to ignite the plasma within, which is this oscillation that comes in 2 forces facing one another in order to generate that 0-point energy, we call this the Casimir effect, which is 2 forces face directing to one another, and in the center they generate the 0 point energy. So that's what the pyramids were doing. So imagine that innerly, because the pyramids are not pyramidal shapes, they're octahedral shapes that mirrored into the water, and then continue um, subsequently to this, they would be creating even more complex geometrical patterns that would speed energetically so fast that they would be this plasmic sphere levitating as the Aten. So now, if we torsion, in order to generate that, we have to see the singularity within here, which is that torsion of those two pine cones now facing one another, kissing mouths, and then generating the singularity in the center, which is some kind of the wormhole, but the wormhole is interconnected through it's from one extreme to another, generating a magnet, which generates another effect in physics, in astrophysics. So yeah, well, I think that's all for tonight. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation as much as I did. And just to summarize, what now? Now what is the purpose to know this information? Well, uh, it is very important to be aware of the original cycle of life and go beyond the time system that was imposed in order to generate a dephase and alter reality between our biology and the reality that we are experiencing. And once we do that, then we're capable actually to generate more resonance with the universe. As I was saying, there are cyclic systems such as the Mayan ones that a lot of people is following now. I'm talking about the long count. I'm not talking about the dream spell. That's another thing. I'm not talking about the long count related to the Baktun and related to, because actually what is sequencing throughout every day is our DNA, right? Amazing. So that's one thing. The other thing is that the cubes, perhaps I will be doing another video about that, just about that, because for instance, when we talk about the cubes, how they function today, when you see a cube, it's mainly and mainly black, it's magnetizing all the energy. And there are very specific rituals related to this. I won't mention them today, but it's there, outside there. And it's about leaving your energy in that cube, in that artifact, that emotional title, and then spitting it up so much and then being compressed through the sphere, that it generates plasma. And then this plasma is used to nourish through the interface other artifacts. And the purpose to this, well, it's all about energy. It all comes to energy. And the power of our energy. So that's why it's so important to own our own energy, to be aware how it works, and to activate our plasma body to be able to generate that energetical sovereignty, and to use our own energy for our highest evolutive purpose. So having said this, thank you if you're interested in knowing more about all this plasma tech that I'm using to teach for people know how to activate their plasma body and to regain their sovereignty by bringing in huge amounts of energy that were anchored in different egregors and matrixes. then and actually be able to spin up that matrix so fast that it generates the plasmic uh, spherical the plasma spherical body. So then again, thank you for watching this video. See you soon. No. If you're interested, then I will write the email in the description below. Okay, now.